In the game Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3, there's been a recent update that caused a problem with a gun part. This part is for a pistol called the COR-45. Usually, when you add parts to a gun in the game, it's supposed to make the gun better. But now, there's a weird issue. If you put this particular part on the COR-45 pistol, it actually makes the gun work worse than if you didn't put any extra parts on it at all. Now, Call of Duty games have lots and lots of different guns. This leads to something interesting in the player community. Players are always trying to figure out which guns are the best to use in multiplayer games and in a mode called Warzone. The guns that are considered the best at any given time are called the meta weapons. But here's the thing, what's considered the best doesn't stay the same for long. The people who make the game often change things. They do this by releasing updates and fixes. These changes can be for different reasons: to fix bugs or mistakes in the game, to stop people from using tricks that give them an unfair advantage. So, the meta, or what's considered the best, is always changing. Players have to keep adapting to these changes to stay competitive. This situation with the COR-45 pistol is an example of how these updates can sometimes cause unexpected problems. It's likely that the game makers didn't mean to make this gun part worse, and they'll probably fix it in a future update. Now, this pistol can have different parts added to it to make it better. One of these parts is called the XRK Lightning Fire Trigger. This trigger was supposed to make the gun shoot faster. On July 9th, 2024, the game makers updated the game. They were trying to fix a problem. Some players had found a way to use this trigger to make the COR-45 shoot much faster than it was supposed to. This is what we call an exploit. It's like a cheat or a trick that isn't supposed to be part of the game. To stop this exploit, the game makers changed how the XRK Lightning Fire Trigger works. They made it less powerful, which is called a nerf in gaming language. But here's where things went wrong. The game makers might have overdone it. Players are now saying that the XRK Lightning Fire Trigger has been weakened so much that it actually makes the gun worse, not better. Imagine if you put a new part on your bicycle to make it go faster, but instead, it made your bike slower than before. That's kind of what's happening with this gun attachment now. This is a big deal because players spend a lot of time figuring out the best ways to set up their guns. When something they relied on suddenly doesn't work anymore, or worse, makes their gun perform poorly, it can really mess up their game strategies. The phrase, "something may have backfired," means that the game maker's attempt to fix one problem might have accidentally created a new, different problem. So now, players who liked using the COR-45 with this trigger are upset. The part they used to make their gun better is now making it worse. It's like the game makers tried to take away a superpower, but ended up giving the gun a weakness instead. This situation shows how tricky it can be to balance a game like Call of Duty. The game makers are always trying to make the game fair and fun for everyone, but sometimes their changes can have unexpected results. Now, when players use this trigger, the COR-45 only fires 300 bullets per minute. That's even slower than the gun's normal speed without any attachments. The game makers will probably fix this mistake soon. But for now, players who like using the COR-45 might want to avoid using the XRK Lightning Fire Trigger. The COR-45 normally fires at about 375 rounds per minute, RPM. The XRK Lightning Fire Trigger used to make it fire much faster, up to 750 RPM. But now, after the recent update, this same trigger actually slows the gun down to only 300 RPM. Before, the trigger made the gun shoot twice as fast. Now, the trigger makes the gun shoot slower than normal. This information comes from players posting on websites like Reddit and other social media platforms. They've noticed this big change in how the gun works. Other changes to the COR-45. In earlier updates, the game makers also fixed other issues with this gun. For example, they stopped players from using a trick that let them put a special grip called a rear akimbo grip on the gun when it wasn't supposed to be allowed. If you are watching this video, please like and subscribe to this channel.